Welcome back for another video. So 2 transfers have been made already ahead of Gameweek 7 and a wildcard still on the cards after a disaster Gameweek 6. Massive regrets not pulling the trigger on the wildcard, which in the end had an absolute blinder. More by luck than anything though, because the wildcard did have Burn and Botman, who closed the Gameweek off with a goal each. Chilwell was benched, came on and got booked. He's one of the players that's left the team already with the early transfer. And the Alvarez move, another transfer failed with a 1-pointer from him. This one was a bit unfortunate. He looked like he was going to score that game, and the Rodri red card changed the game completely. In the end, the likes of Mitoma's brace with 40% ownership and also no Newcastle defender was a rank killer. Transfer fails have been costly this season. Even selling Mitoma for Mbeumo was very reasonable, but that's cost points after his brace. Selling Martinelli for Sterling's been costly, and even João Pedro for Jackson has cost points. FPL Review's season review tool is up, and it's a good way of measuring whether your decision making has been good and what side of variance you've actually landed on. I've got an MD rank of top 50k, which is pretty solid this early, so majorly unlucky to be sat absolutely nowhere near that. Hoping for a good bounce back next week and a decision to make whether to wildcard. It might actually come down to Saka's injury and his availability, which we'll talk about. This week's wildcard video did have Saka in, so I've also made a wildcard team with no Saka, which will be later in this video. His other team looks this week after a couple of transfers made already. Albert Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Anyway, Pickford in goal this week. To be fair, this is perhaps the best fixture he'll have all season, and he has to start ahead of Turner, who's got Brentford. Everton are going to see this as a massive opportunity for 3 points. After beating Brentford as well last week, perhaps they're looking to turn a corner now. The defence is Botman, Trippier and Gabriel. I rarely move early on players, but with the Newcastle defenders rising in price, plus Chilwell and Shaw heading the opposite way, plus I had exact money, so I moved earlier on Trippier and Botman. A week too late after a 12 and 18 pointer each last week, but Burnley home another solid fixture. It is a -4, which is another reason the wildcard's tempting. If you're not aware, you can take a hit and then wildcard later, which does wipe out all your hits. The free hit does work the same, but I wouldn't recommend free hitting this week. Save it for a bigger double game week or a blank game week later in the season. Your Gameweek 7 clean sheet odds are as follows. Newcastle joint top this week with Everton, both given a 47% chance. So that's 3 assets in Pickford, Botman and Trippier in the team. I've calculated the combined odds for Luton and Burnley for their double game week. Luton with a 39.8% chance of a clean sheet across either game, 38% chance for Burnley. Gabriel's got a 36% chance and he's away to Bournemouth. Starting the season with him over Saliba has been incredibly costly in points and team value. 13 points separates the two and he's dropped to 4.7 mil now. Absolute bargain if you're wildcarding in the coming weeks though. Arsenal could be without Rice as well as Partey for this fixture. Perhaps we see Jorginho start if Rice isn't back fit in time. The midfield is Sterling and Mbeumo, Saka, Son and Rashford. Despite some poor scores recently, I look at the midfielder and I think it's absolutely fine, which makes me hesitant to hit wildcard. Sterling has been a huge disappointment, but selling him before he faces Fulham and Burnley is asking for trouble. Perhaps even starts up top next match with Jackson suspended. Mbeumo, Saka and Rashford all make way on the wildcard too, and they've all got fine fixtures. If I don't wildcard this week, it won't be till Gameweek 9 or 10. Gameweek 8 is pretty simple, it'll be Saka to Maddison for the Luton game when Saka's got Man City. But it all depends on Saka's availability this week. Gonna have to wait until the Friday presses, after which point there will have been a few price rises that will price me out of the current wildcard draft I've put together. Not ideal, but better to wait for the information. Son faces Liverpool, which isn't a bad fixture at all on paper. If he's not in your team, you can afford to wait a week and then strongly consider how to get him in before the Luton and Fulham fixtures. In my case, I'm looking to triple up on Spurs for that run. Already got a Doga who's obviously benched this week, and then it's Maddison to join the team Gameweek 8. Rashford was rested midweek in the League Cup as Man United defeated Crystal Palace 3-0. Amrabat was really impressive by the way, looks like he's going to bring a lot to the team. He could end up filling in at left back once again in Gameweek 7 versus Palace. Mount also returned from injury midweek, so perhaps Man United are back on the rise now. Rashford's another reason I'm hesitant to wildcard because he'd have to make way. Up top we've got Haaland captain and Alvarez. Looking at the FPL landscape, the next 5 game weeks are a nightmare to navigate. I really do think that Watkins is going to become an excellent pick with their upcoming games, but then do you drop Alvarez? Or if you run with a front 3, which 4 midfielders do you go for? Saka, Rashford, Maddison, Son, Bruno, Salah, Gordon, Diaby etc. all such good picks. Can't have them all, so let's hope we get the right ones. Since Alvarez is only 7 mil and pretty secure for minutes while De Bruyne's out, perhaps he should be left in as a set and forget pick for 0.9 mil saved on Watkins as well. Alvarez with Diaby and cash could be enough Villa exposure rather than tripling up with Watkins Diaby cash. On the bench it's Turner, Estupiñán, Udogie and Mbama. Starting Estupiñán over Gabriel, another decision to make. Well, likewise, if Saka misses out, there is the potential to start both and ride it out this week. They're really close. Gabriel with the better clean sheet odds, Estupiñán with a tougher fixture but more goal threat. When I look at this team, I'm impressed by the slow start, but that's how FPL goes sometimes. I've played the exact same way in past seasons and been inside the top 10k at this point. Got to keep doing whatever you think's the best thing for your team each week. There were a few questions on the last stream where people said they're ranked 5 mil for example, and wondering whether to wildcard as a result. The answer is that your rank's irrelevant and it's your team that's what matters. So if you've got a good team, don't panic wildcard just for the sake of it. If Saka's available, this is a great team for Gameweek 7. So no further transfer plans with 2 already spent on Trippier and Botman. If Saka is out, then I will likely wildcard. So let's have a look at how the wildcard would look if that were to be the case. The team would be Areola in goal, Kabore, Botman, Trippier defence, Salah, Son, Maddison, Diaby, Gordon midfield. So Son would be the only midfielder to survive, Alvarez and Haaland up top, with Turner, Cash, Archer and Udogie on the bench. Since it's a double game week, Kabore is worth a go for 4 mil, or another double game week defender like Aldakil or Bayer. I'm personally not sold on Morris. He's still not registered over 1 non-penalty XG, so you're basically hoping to fluke another penalty. He makes more sense if you're not wildcarding this week, but you plan to in the next few weeks as you can get him straight back out. Areola and Turner rotate quite nicely, but it is a gamble on Turner keeping his spot. He is playing well, so there is a case to be made that it'd be harsh for him to be dropped now. So Barnes is injured long term for Newcastle, which has made Gordon an interesting one for 5.6 mil. 2 goals and 3 assists this season, and he was quality when he came on against Sheffield United in place of Barnes. He is on 4 yellows, so 1 more and he'll be suspended, but there is good bench depth in this team, and he is cheap, so it's not a major issue. Diaby is slightly ahead of the curve as a pick at the moment, 11% ownership, expecting that to rise dramatically over the next couple of weeks. And of course Salah's in the team, who's got incredible fixtures in a few weeks. With that all in mind, I'd like to wait till Game Week 9 or 10 to wildcard, as Saka, Rashford and Mbeumo all have good fixtures this week, and they'd all leave the team on a wildcard. You can make the case for downgrading Trippier to a cheap defender, and then go Gordon up to a Saka or a Rashford type player if you can afford it. One issue of wildcarding now is Game Week 9 and 10 look tricky to navigate as mentioned earlier. Rashford has Sheffield United Game Week 9, and then he's got Fulham in Game Week 11, then Luton and then Everton. Meanwhile Saka's got Sheffield United in Game Week 10 home, and he's got Burnley home Game Week 12. Impossible to get them all in your team without selling Son and Maddison, but they've got Fulham home Game Week 9. So by waiting a few weeks, perhaps a solution will arise, but right now I don't see it. Perhaps there isn't one, and you have to just pass up on a plump fixture for one player. So that's the team and the potential wildcard draft. Let's see what happens in the Friday press conferences. Thanks for watching, see you soon for the next one.